Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you live from Rivne region, which is in the western Ukrainian side. What you see behind me are moments that's difficult to reckon with. Ukrainians standing in line, remembering their brave hearts. In a short while from now, the mortal remain of a Ukrainian soldier killed in action in Kharkiv will be brought to his homeland. What you see, people here standing, paying their tribute to the fallen soldier. Here you have, as you see right now, I'll ask Ravaji, the mortal remains of the Ukrainian soldier being brought in. A tough moment for the country which has been fighting this battle for over 16 days with Russian troops continuing with the pounding, with the kind of bombardment that's been taking place. What you see right now is the resilience of this country. What you see right now is how the country is standing united to pay tribute to their fallen soldiers. In a short while from now, the mayor of Rivne will also be joining in. Remember, as the battle intensifies, what we are witnessing is casualties that have been inflicted on both sides. Soldiers of the Ukrainian army that have been killed in action. But today, this is the message that Ukraine wants to send across, that they are standing tough, they are standing against the Russian aggression. Tears rolling down the face of Ukrainians at this point in time. What you see right now is one of the most difficult moments of this country. With every passing day, we are only seeing how city after city in Ukraine is being pounded by Russian bombs that are being dropped. 1,000-kilogram bomb that was dropped in a maternity hospital. The tribute that is now being paid, the Ukrainian flag that is going to be laid on the mortal remains of the soldier. Remember, what's becoming even more difficult for the Ukrainians is that they have to leave their own homeland. A lot of women, a lot of children are now leaving their homeland only to safer regions. But here you have people remembering the sacrifice that is being made by every soldier of Ukraine. And they are saying that they are not going to let this go. They are not going to let this fight go in vain. The sacrifice of this soldier will not go in vain, is what many Ukrainians here have to say. Very, very difficult moments right now, what you see unfolding before our eyes, where you have every soldier, every family member, everyone coming together, paying their tributes. This at a time with that the war, there seems to be no end to the war at this stage. And it's only becoming very difficult. Let me also bring in Andre. Andre, these are very difficult moments for this entire country. What you see witnessing in front of our eyes is for every Ukrainian. In one way, it's very difficult, but at the same time, a proud moment that every Ukrainian soldier is standing to defend their country.
Yeah, I think that it's very... What can you see here is how Ukrainians pay respect to the people who defend them. And I don't know, it's very specific.
It's undoubtedly very, very difficult moment right now, what you're seeing. Where on the one hand, you would essentially witness that this constant war that is unfolding, what you see is a situation where innocent lives are being lost. Over thousands and thousands Ukrainians have also lost their lives in this mindless war, as many would say. But what you see today is the bravery of every Ukrainian. We in fact did pause for a while as the family members, they continue to pay their respect. And this, I would say that today you see the entire city has come up here right at the main square of Rivne, where you also have the statue of the father of the nation. Here what you're looking right now is everyone turning up at this square to pay their respect. Now these are scenes that we have witnessed in various other places across various parts of Ukraine, where we have seen fallen soldiers who've been brought back to their homeland so that the people of their region can pay respects, and that's exactly what's happening in front of our eyes. But this is also to say that how long will this actually continue? While both sides continue with their fight, Ukraine has made it very clear that they're not willing to give up. And this fight, the sacrifice of the soldiers here will not actually go in vain. You've already heard the president of Ukraine speaking to his countrymen, saying that it's not only the Ukrainian soldiers who would be defending their country, it's every Ukrainian who would be taking up their arms to fight for their country, to defend their country against what they're calling as an invasion, a war that has been waged by Russia, war crimes that have been committed by Russia. That's what the Ukrainians have to say. But the number of people that you see right now on your screens is a testament to the fact that Ukraine is unwilling to bow down to the kind of aggression that has been shown by Russia. Russia essentially wants the world to believe that only military bases are being targeted. But what we have seen over the last 17 days is that children, women, hospitals, civilian areas, everything has now come under the target of the Russians, where they have continuously targeted these areas, resulting in large-scale devastation across Ukraine. Of the 21 cities, at least 17 cities that we have been to, remember, they have all seen bombardment, aerial bombardment, precision missile strikes that have taken place. But today, as a media network also, we are witnessing one of the most toughest moments that this country is going through. Remember, this country has seen a war that has been waged for several years put together. For the last 8 years, remember, this country has been fighting a war. But this large-scale invasion that has actually taken place is testing the country's courage, the country's resilience. But what one can't take away from the Ukrainians is their willpower to fight it out. And they're saying that their freedom matters the most. In fact, for all our viewers who are tuning in right now, Republic Media Network is in a place called Rivne, where the mortal remains of a fallen soldier have now been brought back to his homeland. We are told that he was killed in action in Kharkiv, the very place in eastern Ukraine which has become one of the greatest battlefield for both the nations. Eastern Ukraine, right from the day one of the invasion, has seen the kind of attack that has taken place from the Russian side on a daily basis. There have been missile strikes, aerial bombardment that has taken place in Kharkiv. A large part of the focus of the Ukraine army has also been in places like Kharkiv, where you have several casualties taking place. One soldier has now been brought to Rivne, where people of his homeland are now paying the final tribute. The wreath that's been laid, the Ukrainian draped in the Ukrainian flag right now. the funeral procession would begin in a short while from now. People of Ukraine are paying their last respect to their fallen soldiers across Ukraine. Remember, as the casualties are only growing, questions essentially being raised. Will peace be given a chance? Because there seems to be no end sight at this point in time, and perhaps what you see, the moist eyes of every Ukrainian, doesn't really mean that they are weak. They have been saying that no matter how many lives are lost, they are willing to fight it out. They are willing to defend the freedom of their country. But freedom at what cost is what we are witnessing today. A family has lost their son. And this is the story from various parts of Ukraine. The final moment when the entire region stands together for their fallen soldier, to pay their tribute to the fallen soldier. Behind me is also a very significant place in Rivne region, which is the very place where the father of the nation, what you see, that's the statue of the father of the nation. And now what you see is also people gathering at this square as the final journey of the fallen soldier of the Ukrainian army would begin. People have gathered in large numbers to pay their tributes to their hero. And remember, this is the image that the world needs to see of how Ukraine is standing strong at this point in time in the face of the aggression that's taking place. In a short while from now, we'll also be joined in by the mayor of Rivne, who's going to speak to us and tell us about the challenges that his area faces, because this is a place which is not very far away from the Belarus border, where, remember, there has been an armed provocation. I'll request our anchors in the newsroom to come in, and I'll also go across to the mayor of Rivne, who's joining us on this broadcast. Very difficult moment for your nation. People of your region have gathered here to pay tributes to the fallen soldier. First, I would like to begin by asking you, Mayor, the difficulty that your people are facing in this region.
Actually, sometimes when I give some interview for foreign media, your colleague asked me, do you afraid or do you have any feelings of scare? My answer for everybody who asks me, and especially for Western countries, for European countries, we don't afraid nothing. From 2012, when Russia started its aggression towards Ukraine, and by this moment we are ready to fight for our independence and for our freedom. Yes, the best ones of our soldiers, they are killed, but every time, every day, new and new more people, new more soldiers arise to protect our own country and our own communities. And I have to say that we will fight till the end. We don't afraid nothing. And Russia, this is a country #1 terrorist country in the world, and this should be spread as much as possible. Russia, with its president Putin, country terrorist #1 in the world.
Mr. Mayor, can I then ask you, because you are taking care of a region which is considered to be very sensitive, closing to the Belarus border. The Ukrainian army yesterday came on record to say that the Russians apparently carried out bombardment in the Belarus Rivne border. So what's the situation? Could you tell us, do you all suspect that Belarus could join Russia and could carry out armed provocations or armed activities in your region, the very region that you are manning?
I can say that Belarus already occupied by Russia, like, let's say, or let's call it like peaceful way.
Okay.
President Lukashenko just gave everything for President Putin to use his railways, highways, roads, everything. Right. So Belarus, this is a platform for Putin to take off and go on aggressive, to keep aggressive toward Ukraine. So we are ready for everything. Our border, our common border, this is a 218 kilometers of common border with Belarus under the protection of our militaries. And our guys, our militaries, they are watching over the border, and everything should be okay. If Belarusians, if Russians will break our border, So we will beat him, we will beat them very hardly. So they should understand the territory and borders of independent country cannot break nobody, no one in this world.
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to introduce my colleague. We are one of the largest news network from India. He'll be asking a question in our language. I'll translate that for you.
कुछ रिपोर्ट्स जो हमने शवन देखी हैं, रिवने जो है वो सेंट्रल यूक्रेन का बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है और जैसा मेयर बता रहे हैं कि वो यहाँ पर घुसने नहीं देंगे, लेकिन रशिया की कोशिश है कि यहाँ पर कब्जा करें। तो कितनी इसमें सच्चाई है और कितनी तैयारी है?
He's asking that there are several reports that are doing the rounds that there is a high possibility that the Russian troops might enter or try to enter from Rivne region. Is there any truth to that? Is there any evidence that you all are picking up that there is a high possibility that your border, Rivne border along with Belarus, could become a very active region in the days to come?
Yes, we understand as a militaries, as a local authorities, that every minute our border can be broken by Belarusians or Russians.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of Ukrainian troops just watching over the borderline and control everything. What I can say right now, by this minute, everything under the control of Ukrainian militaries, everything under the control of our troops. So we are controlling borderline and ready for any situation.
Mr. Mayor, your army came on record yesterday to put out a telegram message in which they are saying that this very area, Koplan, the village on the Rivne side, was bombarded by the Russians, and essentially this was a false flag so that the Belarus side can open fire on this area. Can you tell us a little bit about what really happened yesterday when the bombardment was taking place at the Ukraine-Belarus border from the Rivne region?
Officials and especially Minister of Defense and Minister of Defense and all our militaries who are watching over borderline, they told us the next information, that Russian aircrafts take off from the Belarusian airport, cross the borderline, just entered to Ukrainian airspace and make a cycle and go back to Belarus and just send bombs just directly to the borderline between Ukraine and Belarus. So this is a provocation that can be caused for President Lukashenko just to use as a reason, let's say this is a reason to start the war.
You are part of President Zelensky's administration, so will President Zelensky raise this issue about how Belarus is becoming very active? They've aligned with Russia. Would you like to tell the world of what the role of Belarus is concerned?
The role of Belarus, as I mentioned before, Russia just wants to use Belarus as a platform to send its troops from Belarusian airports, from Belarusian railways. Though they give, actually, President Lukashenko just give for the rent his country for President Putin. This is just crazy, and this is a shame for president who just gave up. He gave up his country, and he just don't care about his people.
Mr. Mayor, I'll bring in my colleague also. Right now, I would like to tell you there are lakhs and lakhs of viewers. We are going live right now who are watching you. We would be broadcasting across various nations also. Let me bring in my colleague Mridul. He wants to ask you.
एक परमाणु संयंत्र को लेकर मेरा सवाल था, क्योंकि रशिया तरह तरह के आरोप लगाता रहा है और रिवने में भी परमाणु संयंत्र है। तो कितनी आरोपों में सच्चाई है और जो तमाम आरोप लगते रहे हैं उसके बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे ये?
There is this huge threat of a nuclear warfare to take place. In your region itself, we're talking about a nuclear plant. We have seen how nuclear plants have come under attack. How are you prepared for that, especially in your region where there is a nuclear plant?
We are well prepared. Our nuclear plants over control of Ukrainians and police and militaries. But I would love to say about Zaporizhia nuclear plant. Zaporizhia nuclear plant, this is in central Ukraine, take over control by Russian. Why I told that Russia is a terrorist country? Because Russians, militaries, were shelling by tanks on this strategy object. Can you imagine? This is crazy man who just hit nuclear plant by tanks. So right now, Zaporizhia nuclear plant taken over control by Russians. This is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, not only in Ukraine, but in Europe. If something happened, but as we know, we have information that Russians killed couple well-prepared specialists who were operating this nuclear plant. And they killed them on the very first day when they captured it. So if Russians just will cause the explosion on that biggest power nuclear plant, this is gonna be the end not only for Ukraine, not only for Europe, but for all the world. Because this explosion can be much more in 6 times than Chernobyl disaster.
Mr. Mayor, let me then ask you one final question, because a lot is being spoken about the role of the West at this point in time. Your country is demanding that there should be a no-fly-out zone.
Yes.
Do you believe that West is not really fulfilling the promises that they were initially making, and what is it that you would like to tell them?
I would say that some countries, like I would love to say, so thank you so much for British leaders, for Great Britain, for Boris Johnson. I want to express my gratefulness for some other countries like USA, but this is a country that stands with Ukraine. But some other countries, I don't want to mention even about them, they are just afraid, and they believe that if they will send some help to Ukraine, this cause more escalation. Tell me please, how much more innocent children should be killed in Ukraine to open the eyes for Western leaders, for some other countries? How many bombs should go down on maternity hospitals from Russians to open the eyes for Western leaders? So some countries still sleepy and they don't want to do nothing. So, and this is not appropriate position and dealing. So we just challenge, we demand non-fly zone over Ukraine. And Ukraine, this is a front line of Europe now, not only our own. We don't protect only our own country. We are just fighting for Europe continent, for European security. And when people will understand that we are fighting not only for ourselves, but for them, for their peaceful dreams in night time, maybe that time they will send us help.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for taking out time and speaking to us.
Yeah,
that was the Mayor of Rivne speaking exclusively to Republic Media Network. You've already heard the kind of message that has been sent across, why the very region where we are reporting from, Rivne, becomes very, very crucial at this point in time, because this could very well become the latest flashpoint as far as this conflict goes, because this is not very far from Belarus, where right now Ukraine has openly declared that they suspect that in the days to come, Belarus could very well align with Russia, allow their airfields to be activated, which they have already done, and perhaps use this very area to carry out further attacks in the region. That's the reason why this area from where we are reporting currently becomes very important. In the last few minutes, what we have witnessed are 2 very strong images, and let me describe those images for you viewers so that you understand what's really happening here in Ukraine. A lot has been spoken about the resilience about the people of Ukraine, and those images of people of Ukraine standing together, standing tall to pay tribute to the fallen soldiers, that tells you that Ukraine is not willing to give up at this point in time in the face of the kind of aggression that they have witnessed in the last 15 to 16 days that we have seen the invasion taking place, and almost every city of Ukraine has now been bombarded. I also have my colleague Mridul who's joining us. Mridul, लगातार जो हम लोग देखते आ रहे हैं, मैं ये भी चाहूँगा कि आप हमारे दर्शकों, रिपब्लिक भारत में जो लोग हैं उनसे भी बात करें, और मेयर से बात हुई। कहीं ना कहीं जो ये इलाका है जहाँ से हम लोग रिपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, वो इलाका बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण हो जाता है, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं कीव के अलावा अगर दूसरा अगर कोई फ्लैश पॉइंट है तो यही रिवने के इलाका बन जाता है।
बिल्कुल श्रवण, आप ठीक कह रहे हैं, और हमने जितनी भी रिपोर्ट्स अभी तक अलग अलग शहरों से की हैं। सबसे ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण जब हम यहाँ पर पहुँचे तो हमें ये पता चला कि ये सबसे ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण इलाका है। और अभी तक जो लगातार तस्वीरें हम पहुँचा रहे हैं इस इलाके से, वो ये बताने के लिए काफ़ी हैं कि आज की जो तस्वीर हम देख रहे हैं, हो सकता है थोड़े दिन बाद ये तस्वीर यहाँ की बदल जाए। और मेयर ने भी इस बात का जिक्र अपने जो हमने अभी उनसे बात की, उन्होंने भी इस बात का जिक्र किया है कि ये सेंट्रल यूक्रेन का बहुत ही अहम हिस्सा है। और अगर यहाँ की तस्वीर बदलती है तो पूरे यूक्रेन के लिए और पूरे यूरोप के लिए ये तस्वीर बहुत ही घातक हो सकती है। चाहे बात कीव की हो या फिर खार्किव की, जो तस्वीर अभी हम देख रहे हैं, हो सकता है रिवने में भी वही तस्वीर हो, क्योंकि बेलारूस और रूस की तरफ से लगातार जो बातें कही जा रही हैं और जो क्षेत्र अभी तक हमने देखा है, यहाँ से घुसने की कोशिश की जाएगी और फिर यहाँ से रूस की सेना घुसेगी और फिर आगे कीव तक पहुँच सकती है।